I'd love to talk a little bit about Love on the Spectrum. Did you ever think you would be on a Netflix show?
No, I didn't think I would be on a Netflix show until the year of 2021.
Yeah. Were you a little nervous for it at first?
To meet David, because he was a new person to me, but then
Yeah.
it took a while for me to get to know him better.
Yeah, for sure. Christine, what were your thoughts
Okay.
when Netflix approached you? How was that?
Well, first of all, we didn't know what it was, and it wasn't Netflix. It was Northern
Okay.
Pictures. So it was a guy during the pandemic Zooming us that, for all I knew, was down by the river in a van. I mean, I didn't know who he was or what it was. I just figured, we'll talk to these people and see what it is.
Yeah.
So it was 3 or 4, Zoom calls. And at the end of the 4th Zoom call, they said, oh, by the way, this is for a network that starts with the letter N and it's not NBC. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? This is Netflix? And he's like, it's like, guy in the van down by the river is doing a show for Netflix. And I was like, oh, okay. And then Love on the Spectrum came out in Australia, season 1. So I was able to kind of get an idea of, what is this thing he's doing?
Yeah.
And we had a conversation about whether it was a good fit or not, because I didn't know what their intentions were. And reality's scary, documentary's scary. Are they going to be cool, protect us? Are they going to be on our side, or is this going to be salacious? And
what are you looking for?
What are you doing? And so, because I'm kind of the middleman,
Yeah.
it was an awkward position to be in.
Yeah.
And at one point, I remember months had gone by. We had these great calls, and they said this, and then I didn't hear anything. And I thought, well, they're still interviewing people, so clearly they don't want to use her. And I felt very motherly. And I was like, I'm going to write to that guy, and I'm going to say, oh, by the way, we've had a schedule change, and we're not available anymore to do this project with you. Like, I literally had written a draft. And then I deleted it.
Oh, you did. So you didn't send it.
I didn't send it.
Just had to get it out.
I know.
Sometimes you just got to get things out.
Yeah, exactly. But I had that protective thing. It's kind of a weird position to be in because I know a little bit about the business, and I just felt protective of her. And then that first date, we did a lot of stuff in the house, but that first date just, was 100% unscripted. Gloves are off. Anything's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I had a driver there, and David's sisters drove him to that location.
Okay.
And they sort of put us in the bushes, like off to the side at that wildlife sanctuary.
Oh, wow.
We could hear it, but we couldn't see it.
Yeah.
We could hear what, but couldn't see what.
Allison, Aubrey, and I could hear your first date with David, but we couldn't see you guys.
So you were just listening in.
You could hear our voices?
Yeah, we could hear your voices. And it was just the rest. You've seen it.
Wow.
So it was really, we were laughing a lot back in our little alcove area where they put us. Yeah, it was really fun. But scary.
Oh, I bet. I mean, yeah. Abby, were you pretty nervous, or did you know that you wanted to do the show?
I was a little nervous, but the show seemed to have been a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Yeah. How so?
Well, it's because when I was a kid, I used to feel left out in the cold. I felt very isolated and alone. Because as an adult, I knew that I wouldn't feel left out anymore. I would be accepted, and I'd be able to fit in.
Yeah. Was it hard growing up with autism?
Yeah, because my brain wouldn't do what I was telling it to do.
Yeah.
And I used to identify with Ariel and the Little Mermaid
Yes.
because she wanted to be where the people were.
Yeah.
Just like how I wanted to be where the typical kids were. And when she finally got to land and became human, she couldn't talk.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I felt like I couldn't talk.
How old were you when you got diagnosed?
2.5.
Okay. What type of autism were you diagnosed with?
Communication problems.
Okay.
That's the type. I'm sure other people on the spectrum don't have that. Their words come out easily.
Okay.
And other people on the spectrum don't talk at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I feel like
That's
we've
why at my
learned.
autism school, there were 4 different types of programs for the levels of autism.
Okay.
So what level were you?
More job training. I was in Village Glen, but then my mom had to take me out and put me in Bridgeport for vocational training.
Okay.
How was that,
It
Mom?
was pretty good.
She said it so perfectly. So
Yeah.
back in the day before 2013, when the diagnostic code was different than it is today,
Yeah.
you had pervasive developmental disorder, autism spectrum, and then you had Asperger's. So at least you could sort of support people with different skill sets because there are such a vast array. And after 2013, The DSM-5 changed. That's the diagnostic code to say.
No, I think it was 2011, 2012.
No, it was 2013.
Oh, yeah.
It was. That's when they changed it. But thank you. You're good with dates.
And then she had to take me out of the academic and put me in job training.
Right. So for Abbey, what there was so many, the whole other episode we could do on education and stuff. But the bottom line was regular academics, for some people with autism that process information differently, a generalized education isn't appropriate. It just isn't.
Yeah.
Learning about Western civilization, which, by the way, you can Google now.
Right.
So the job training and life skills was way more important. And I think there's those types of learners. And then but Abbey had communication problems. Learning language and communicating and fitting in was very, very difficult. So what we see now is not where we were. And I think sometimes people misunderstand our story or my part in her story because they think Abbey was always like this. And you're just too protective and let her go do her thing. And it's like, I wish, because I would sell my house and move to Tennessee if I could just go,
Yeah.
So the education thing was very, very important. And there are different levels, but today we call it all spectrum. And we call it low support or high support. And those supports, in some cases, are undefined. I think they should be defined because Abbey had more obvious needs.
Yeah.
So it's easier to treat, but lower support level people, I think it's a gray area, and those supports need to be developed.
Okay.
You see, it's changed since really social media has really changed the sort of way we look at it and expanded and helped a lot of people because a lot of people that I think are different processors now are understanding that so that they can, get interventions or services or understand how their mind works so that they can, have an easier life.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
When she was first diagnosed, did you have a feeling that was coming? Was that like a scary time for you? What did that time look like?
I mean, I'll never forget the moment when I was standing in Susan Siegel's kitchen and her son, we had our babies at the same time.
You mean Michael Siegel?
Yeah. And we were standing in her kitchen and her son, they were almost the same age. He looked up, he saw an apple and he said, apple, apple, and he was pointing. And I just was staring at her interaction with her son and saying, wow, look what he's doing. That's genius. Because she didn't do that. And there was something about pointing and having, even if it was the wrong word, a word for the thing you wanted. And she didn't do that. And I said, oh,
I didn't do that?
yeah. Back
Why
then.
is that?
Because you didn't have the language yet. You do now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was I nonverbal then?
Nope, you weren't nonverbal. You always had words.
Oh.
But so that was a sign. I said, oh, that's interesting. And I'm not a kid person. I wasn't around kids. She was my first. It was a whole new world for me. And there was that. And then she would wake up in the middle of the night and be up for the night, like 2 a.m. up. And I remember thinking, wow, why isn't her brain shutting off? That's the way I, layman's terms, called it.
Yeah.
It's like she's up for the day. Like she's not just hungry or has a wet diaper. She is up. And so that meant I was up.
Yeah.
So, that was challenging, darling.
Does that happen to all kids on the spectrum?
Sometimes sleep can be a big issue. Sleep,
Really?
irregular sleep patterns. So there was definitely some things that were not adding up, and it was so hard. I literally just blamed myself and said, I don't know about this mother thing. Like, wow, these other people must be real warriors because I'm doing something wrong. And I think that's a feeling a lot of parents feel like, what am I doing wrong? I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Because everything you're experiencing is just so different, unique. You didn't read about it. You didn't know about it. So boom, here you are. And so then I put her in preschool. And it was the preschool call, which I say on Love on the Spectrum season 1, which was when they called me and said she can't come here.
Why couldn't I go?
You know why. Why
Because
don't
I
you?
was putting everything in my mouth, including rabbit poop.
Oh no.
Oh, that's not good.
I really did.
Now, the amazing thing is we actually can sit here and laugh about this. Like,
Right.
I never in my wildest dreams.
Sand, leaves, rabbit poop.
Oh my gosh.
You should have stuck to the milk and cookies.
That would have been better. Milk and cookies is so good. And speaking of cookies, Cookie Monster would eat stuff that wasn't food in the episodes.
That's right.
Did he have tactile input?
I guess so.
He would even eat. He ate a box of cereal, then he ate cereal, and then he ate the box.
He's so silly.
Hopefully no rabbit poop.
Yeah,